Do you want to go now, Dina? It's fine. I was going to put Kalikua. Dana Hall. Dana Naomi Hall.
Good morning, trustees. Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. Because, you know, it's forums like this that allow us to receive more information on difficult issues, but with information we can make better decisions. So that is my purpose in being here today. And some people are testifying today at great risk to themselves, as you witnessed earlier. This is going to be a day for tears, because when we battled Oha-Kawaiaha'O and prevented and changed the burial and created the burial law in the state of Hawaii, that is one of the most protected laws in the nation, we never foresaw this day, but here we are. And I have to say, you know, I'm not here to relitigate the case in front of you. We are going to appeal the judge's decision because we feel it is patently wrong. There is no distinction in the burial law between Christian and non-Christian burials. None whatsoever. It doesn't have to be a traditional Native Hawaiian burial to be protected under Chapter 6E 43 and the implementing administrative rules. And as you know, oftentimes appeals are successful. The problem we're having is that before an appeal can be taken and a decision rendered, we have a period of time when the burials at Kawaiaha'o are unprotected. That's why we're here today. And I think that Oha can play a leadership role in this matter, as it did when the Oha-Kawaiaha'O burial controversy erupted. So that is my request to you, and I will try to give you information that will help you. You know, one of the strange things about and I will also say, you know, you have there a copy of the application for disinterment permit that was submitted to the Department of Health, and this is just so you understand what little process there is with the Department of Health disinterment permit. You know, the Oha-Kawaiaha'O burial site was disinterred under a blanket disinterment permit, just like this one. And how could we come these 20 years later to the same point in time? Very strange. Now, and just to show you how little process there is, I did not make a copy of this for you, but I will give it to your executive director. This is an October 22nd, 2010 letter to Frank Pastana from Alden Onaka, the registrar of, at the Office of Department of Health. And it's basically the disinterment permit itself. You'll notice that the application has date of death, unknown, full name of deceased, unknown, place of death, unknown, age at time of death, unknown, sex unknown, race unknown. Everything on this application is unknown. So they are not giving the people buried at Kawaiaha'O the dignity of being anything other than an unknown burial, which they can excavate at will. Now, this is the letter, this is the disinterment permit, a one-paragraph statement. That's how our kupuna get excavated in 2011, after the lessons of Oha-Kawaiaha'O and the hurt and the pain that we as a people endured. I truly believe that the Office of Hawaiian Affairs will not let such an indignity continue. Now, I want to spend really the bulk of the time that I have brief time I have with you, questioning the grant that Oha gave to Kawaiaha'O. And I believe that Oha gave this grant truly with the idea that they were going to assist in a mission to serve the Hawaiian people. But that is not what has been happening. And I believe that at this point in time, given all the irregularities, that OHA may wish to terminate its contract with Kawaiaha'O after an investigation, of course, into the issues that we're bringing forward to you today. And anyway, if I could just briefly, and also, and one thing I wanted to bring up to you before I start on that, HRS 10-17 states for grants given by the office. These are grant conditions and qualifications. Established to the satisfaction of the office that sufficient funds are available for the effective operation of the activity, business, or enterprise for the purposes for which the grant is awarded. And I will suggest to you, and I hope that you will investigate the fact that there is no financial capability to even complete this project. Not close. Okay. Very kindly, the office provided with me under a request for government documents a copy of the grant agreement between the Office of Hawaiian Affairs and Kawaiaha'o Church, and as you know, it's in the form of a contract. Contract 1979. And you know, the first whereas clause mirrors Chapter 10, HRS 10. Whereas one of the purposes for which OHA has been established is to better the conditions of Native Hawaiians and Hawaiians. Okay, number one. Whereas the project proposed by the grantee is designed to meet the needs of the Hawaiian community by providing a multi-purpose facility to support education, cultural, and social service programs. Okay, the only project mentioned throughout this grant, this contract, is a multi-purpose facility, not other campus improvements, only a multi-purpose facility, which incidentally is to be used primarily for non-sectarian purposes, when we know full well there will be many religious activities being conducted in that facility. But that is a minor issue compared to the ones that we are dealing with right now. So this contract was executed at the end of June in 2006. And it appropriated $1 million for the project to be spent over a 3-year period. There was an initial payment of $500,000, and then incremental payments of $125,000 with the final payment, I believe, of $25,000. All the money has been given to Kawaiaha'o, with the exception of, I believe, of the final payment. In the scope of the activities, grantee agrees to construct a multi-purpose facility. And more specifically, in pursuit of this, there are enumerated things that the grantee must do. First is, and this is in compliance with the second payment, before the second payment is given out, the grantee must conduct cultural, archaeological, or environmental assessments as necessary for the proposed construction site. Well, no archaeological or cultural survey was ever done for this project. The only document attached to the compliance report was a Cultural Surveys Hawaii background history project based on archival research and summaries of the results of archaeological inventory testing for projects in the vicinity of Kawaiaha'o, many of them conducted by Cultural Surveys Hawaii. But Cultural Surveys Hawaii did no archaeological inventory testing for the Kawaiaha'o project. And this included Cultural Surveys Hawaii reporting of a Queen Street road widening project, which it conducted. And in that road widening project involved a strip of land that formerly belonged to Kawaiaha'o. And when Cultural Surveys Hawaii did the inventory testing of that strip of land, they dug up 116 burials because the fence posts for the old cemetery land were still visible at that time. And this is in the late 80s, I believe. Evidence of Hawaiian burial practices were documented for many of these burials, including traditional artifacts buried with individuals, such as niho palawa, water-worn stones, etc. And some of the burial remains had their opu packed with salt. So, even given this background history, there was no archaeological work done subsurface. The only archaeological work being done subsurface is to excavate the Evi now. All right. Nor was there any environmental assessment done. And this is despite the fact that an EA is required by law because Kawaiaha'o is a National Historic Landmark. Kawaiaha'o and the mission houses are listed on the Hawaii and National Registers of Historic Places. And as if that were not enough, Kawaiaha'o and its grounds are a contributing property to the Hawaii State Capital District, which itself is listed on the Hawaii and National Historic Registers. I mean, actually, it's a good contract. If they'd abided by it, we might not be where we are today. There is an assurance, one thing that the contract states is that there must be an assurance of benefit to Hawaiians. How can this project be a benefit to Hawaiians when it cuts at the root of our ancestral ties? I don't understand that. Now, in order to receive the second payment, in order to receive, after the second payment, Kawaiaha'o had to conduct a capital campaign, which they have done to some degree. And number 7, construct a multi-purpose facility. And this is even before the final payment is given. To this day, there is not one bit of evidence that the multipurpose center building has even been constructed. By the time Kawaiaha'o received, I believe, its last payment, they were already supposed to have virtually built the multipurpose building. But all that they had done was in 2008, they initiated construction, but trenching for a sewer line. And that's when burials were found, because they were monitoring the project at that time. So the initiation of the construction timelines, the progress reports, all of that contained in the compliance reports submitted to OHA, they don't match. Because all you have to do is realize that there's nothing there. The only thing we have right now is a commitment by Kawaiaha'o Church to continue to excavate Iwi Kupuna. I won't make this too long. There is a clause in this contract that is stated, failure to comply. Failure to comply with any of the conditions of this agreement shall result in the grantee being deemed ineligible for funding for a period of 5 years. Oh, well, that seems like a light sentence. But it says, or the termination of this agreement. Well, clearly we're asking you to consider terminating the agreement. This Section 2 involves time of performance. The term of this grant shall be from June 1st, 2006 to and including December 31st, 2008. And there have been no amendments to this contract to extend the time of performance. And as I said, they have not performed. And then we come to this one portion. As I said, the contract speaks for itself. It only involves a multi-purpose center facility. But in one of the church's compliance reports to OHA is an invoice from Stan's Contracting and for work done on June 20th, 2008. Contracting services, historic preservation of sanctuary windows and doors. And the remark printed here is, allocation of funds from OHA's fourth increment funding of $125,000 were used for the second payment on the enclosed contract invoices for approximately $500,000. So this is, I believe, a misappropriation and misuse of grant monies for a non-identified project that involved the church sanctuary and not the multipurpose center facility. Okay. Finally, the contract states, if an amount of reported expenditures is preliminarily determined by OHA to be inappropriate and unacceptable, OHA may deduct an equivalent amount from the next payable advance installment and may withhold payment of the amounts of monies equivalent to the questioned expenditures until later resolution of the discrepancy. Well, almost all the money's gone, and there's only $25,000 left. However, the grant goes on to state, if after payment of the last installment, investigation and examination reveal additional expenditures that are determined by OHA to be inappropriate and unacceptable, OHA may require that an equivalent amount of monies be refunded by the grantee, notwithstanding OHA's preliminary determination of appropriateness and acceptability. Excellent contract. I hope that OHA will act on the basis of its contract. It certainly has room to do so, and I think an investigation will help tremendously. And you know, odd that we should be here asking for the protection of our iwi kupuna through a contract. But really, that's all we have. So I want to thank you very much for this time.
If there's any questions? Thank you, Dana. Our next speaker is